and welcome into episode 22 of the Orlando Drummer Podcast. I'm feeling sore today, man. I'm all sorts of beat up. How you doing, Chris?
I'm hungover.
Hungover, huh? What'd you do last night?
No, I'm kidding. I feel like when I turn 22, see, my birthday's on New Year's.
Oh, that's right. You got a weird birthday. New Year's Day is such a weird one.
So turning 21 was crazy, but turning 22 is like, I don't know if everybody has the same experience, but you turn 22 and you're just like, oh my God, a year of drinking. I'm done drinking forever. And
I'm sure
you have that mentality for like a month.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm in... When I turned 22, I was in that stage of just like, all right, man, I'm never drinking again.
21st birthday on New Year's is dangerous, dude. I'm glad you survived that
I
one.
won't talk about that on this podcast, but if I'm ever on All In with Adam, I'll be sure to tell that story. It's slightly entertaining.
Wake up in a dumpster.
I didn't wake up in a dumpster, but I tell you this, I woke up with a cracker on my shirt. That's all I'll say about that.
All right.
Okay.
I'm sure I want to hear that story later for sure.
All right, cool. Well, enough about drinking. We'll get on to a loop of the week this week.
All right, what we got?
This week is a fun one. I chose it because of the tempo. The tempo is 62.5 BPM.
That sounds like something got cut in half, like it was 125, and then we were like, never mind, cut it in half. It sounds like that's what happened when you get to 0.5.
Could have been. It is Chemical from Modern Rock V1. It's back when you named loops.
Oh, back when we named them, way back.
Yeah.
So that song, funny, I used that for a couple things. There's a Timekeepers episode that uses that particular loop because it's real industrial. Down, down, down. It's very like, that doesn't give you any context at all. But I don't know. Yeah, it's like real heavy and industrial. And when I went and filmed, when my signature snare came out with Entity Drums, the badge is made by my buddy Matt, who's a metal fabricator. And so I went to his metal shop. Yeah, you know Matt.
Yeah.
And I filmed him doing all sorts of industrial metal work. And so it was like a really fitting track for that. So maybe I'll put the Timekeepers clip up here. But yeah, check it out. This is Chemical. Really fun. Yeah, I like that track a lot. It's I don't know, it's like got an appropriate kind of grunge to it. Not like dubsteppy, a little more like heavy industrial rock, but industrial rock, maybe that could be a cool loop pack.
It just sounds like Nine Inch Nails.
Kind of, sort of.
Korn.
Yeah.
Industrial rock would be great.
That's a cool pack. Yeah, let us know in the comments if you like that idea. I think that would be a really fun it's not like a genre I listen to or think of very often, but like playing to that sort of music is definitely fun for some reason.
You ever hear of mud rock?
Mud rock? No.
Mud rock is like 40 to 50 BPM, just like, it's like gent if you slowed it down like 70%.
Like grunge,
just
like
dun, super long quarter note, just because the tempo's so slow.
I know what you're. I went to a bar in Atlanta like 7 or 8 years ago, and the band was playing at like 27 BPM.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Talk about a challenge. Playing at slower BPMs is often harder than playing at fast BPMs.
Adam Neely, the YouTuber, has an interesting video about what is the slowest tempo that you can play to?
Tempo. Yeah.
I want to say it's like 33, because beyond that, the gap is so big that you can't recognize patterns in the space.
Yeah.
And you could up the subdivision. So if it was like, I don't know, 64th notes, like right? Like you could fill it so you can kind of hear the space, but what you've really done is like doubled the time. So like you're hearing it is more like 60. Like if it's true 30 BPM quarter notes, like at a certain point around 30 BPM, it's indistinguishable. But Matt Garska has that solo 35 BPM solo.
God.
Yeah. Of course, with those, I always wonder, like, you could just put the metronome at 70, like, in your ears, and then put it at 35 in the audio when you post it. Like, I'm not saying he did that. I'm just saying that would be really easy to do.
As long as you were on time, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, the challenge is different, because if you're hearing 70 BPM, well, like, that's a very normal tempo. And then in the audio, you just like drag it to 35, and it's, I don't know. I'm not saying he did that at all. It's just that would be
I'm pretty sure
really
he did that,
easy.
He did that solo at PASIC, like live.
Oh
So-
yeah, that's true. That's true. If it's live, that'd be very different.
Yeah, not like produced.
Yeah, but like what's a hilarious? You could play at 50 BPM, which is it's very slow but totally doable.
You might have a loop somewhere in the library that's
At 50 BPM.
50.
But I'm just saying, imagine you had a click at 50 BPM in your ear and you play to it. And that's slow. It's fairly difficult, but you could do it. But then in the audio, you just put it at 25 BPM. And it's like not
Oh
humanly
my
possible, but it
God.
sure sounds like that's what you did.
Oh, man.
That's really funny.
We should try it one day. That'd be great. Alrighty, cool. So this week, we haven't been doing Player Puzzle.
Yeah,
last
mixing up some
few
segments.
episodes because we added a new segment which we'll get to soon. But we'll go back to Player Puzzle this week again.
Player Puzzle.
Yes.
All right.
So if you're not familiar with Player Puzzle, since we haven't done it in a few episodes, I'll remind everybody that with so many drummers out there, it's hard to tell the difference. But some stand out so well that they're absolutely recognizable. In Player Puzzle, we'll provide 3 hints to see if Adam can guess who's playing. Let's see if we can stump him.
It's going to be trickier now doing this a little later because I can't remember all who we've done on Player Puzzle and who we haven't.
Yes.
Right? So it's going to get a little trickier as further we get in here.
Yeah. All right. So the first one is in the files. The name is Tape. So go ahead and listen to Tape.
Okay. Clue number 1. Man, interesting, I don't know, like Degenti sort of style, like swingy metal type player. But there weren't a lot of fills, so it makes me feel like this might be a guy in a band. Because that sounded like it could have been like on an album sort of part. I don't know. So I'm thinking like a metal band is what I'm grabbing from that. This is interesting. What's our next hint for this guy?
This drummer, once played a drum solo wearing a pirate's costume for a pirate-themed gig.
You know
what's funny?
cruise gig?
It might have been a cruise gig, but I have a memory of it, and I know it happened. And this drummer can confirm whether or not that this happened, if they're listening.
Okay.
But I looked everywhere for the video, and I was like, I can't find it.
Man, so there's a video of this happening.
It happened. It happened. I know it happened.
A pirate-themed gig. That would... I mean, I would think like a cruise. They have like booze cruises down here in Florida where, I don't know, they're like weird themes. And bands will do them too. Remember Paramore had one?
Parahoy. Yeah.
Was that what it was actually called?
I swear to God it was called Parahoy. I was mad that it happened because I would have gone on that cruise. Paramore's, oh my God, live. They were one of the best live performances I've seen in a long time. And then their last album tour, that was insane. I saw that at Barclays Center in Brooklyn a few years ago. Holy crap.
Well, it's a weird gig for them to take the cruise thing. Like, how much money do they make? It must be good money, right?
A lot of money. Because the charters can upcharge by a lot.
Sure.
If there's like a big name band on the cruise. So a regular Royal Caribbean cruise would be like $500 a person. And then you say, oh, it's a charter with only people that care about this band or maybe some of the other bands on the bill. So a lot of people like you, pretty similar people on the cruise. So it's like, well, why don't we make it $900 per person?
Yeah, I
can
see it being
make that extra money and
But
crazy.
then, I mean, I guess you are getting like 5 Paramore concerts, but at the same time, well, I don't know. I mean, if it's an extra $400 or $500, then it's $100 a concert. So that's not that big of a deal. Yeah, you'd have to figure out if it's worth it, because you could buy some crazy ticket to like one show for several $100s.
Think about it this way. You can get absolutely trashed.
Yeah, normally for free on those too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just go home. Because your bed is 3 floors down.
That's true too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know a lot of party people really like cruises for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure they do it smart too, where they would have like an acoustic night where it's like everybody dresses up and it's all wine and dinner and it's like a very intimate kind of show. They would do different
nicer,
mixes of
classier.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be fun. I would love to go on a music cruise.
Okay, so maybe this drummer did a music cruise.
Maybe.
For some reason, they found themselves dressing up like a pirate. And okay, now we got a kit photo.
Yeah, so go ahead and click on tape again. That's the kit photo.
Weird. That's a pearl? What's the weird giant badge on the rack tom? Is that like a tour pass or something? It looks contoured to the drum though, like it's a badge on the drum.
Could have been like a rented kit for a tour.
So we got Sabian Pearl, and one drummer comes to mind who does have a metal influence, and he does take weird gigs. My guess for this one is going to be brother Troy Wright.
Yeah.
Ah, it's Troy
Yeah.
Wright. What's the pirate story?
I think
why did
he was
do that?
literally doing like a pirate themed gig, and he posted a drum solo of him in this like the pants were ripped, and he was wearing like I don't remember if he was wearing a hat, but he was wearing like a weird vest. It just looked like silly, like
Yeah.
it could have been like, you know, those like dinner shows that are themed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I feel like it could have been one of those. Troy, if you're listening, please like confirm this. I swear to God, this happened. I've seen this solo. I want to see it again. I want to pull it up on the podcast.
Man.
And show Adam. But that's from my memory alone, and it's a good memory.
That's funny. Yeah, he I love his new kit. He got a few months ago. Was it a very thin-shelled mahogany Masterworks? I think that's what it was. Like 4-ply mahogany. Maybe it was just maple. But a super thin Masterworks kit. Man, that thing sounded so good. He posted a few videos of it.
Yeah, he posted a solo.
Yeah, he's such a good example of someone that does everything. Like he's done online lessons, he's done drum covers, he's done touring. He owns a music school. So a really good example of like a well-rounded career for sure. That's what always comes to mind when I think of people who kind of dabble in everything and do everything really well. And soloist, he won a big competition in Australia when he was very young, being a soloist. But yeah, he's had me out to a couple shows here before when he passes through Orlando. But shout out Troy Wright, man, awesome drummer.
Sweet. Thank you, Troy, for the spot there. Next up is Cactus. Go ahead and listen to Cactus.
All right, clue number 1. Man, so fast. That left-hand blast thing happening. God, that was so quick. So I do have a guess. He's a really abstract player. But man, there's just only so many people that are that quick. Like, interesting one. I'm not sure based off of that. There's like a few guys that could have been. It also gets tough when guys get so abstract and fast like that I don't know, things just get... It's like they have so many different qualities to their playing that it's like hard to tell who it is because they're so chameleon-y. They can just sound like anything, you know? That was just like a wall of advanced drumming is what that was.
Just ripping all day. I remember getting the audio clip for that podcast, or that playing, and I was just like...
What? What happened?
Is this person human? I don't know. But this drummer is human. They've been nominated and won 3 Indie Music Awards.
Okay, that helps me narrow down my guess. I think this guy has won a handful of awards like that. Okay, let's do our kit photo here.
Yeah.
Clue number 3.
Cactus.
Bosphorus, though, that's throwing me off a little bit, but the ridiculously high cymbals are kind of his thing, I think. So I think this is brother Mason Guidry.
Is it him?
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, his playing is so strange. It's like, it is high level. It is very, very advanced.
Oh yeah.
It's freakish level playing, but it's also like, it's strange, like in a very good way. But like the ideas that he comes up with are sometimes just like, what was that? Like there's a weird quote. I can't remember who said this or what they were talking about specifically. There's a quote I heard years ago that like the best music that's truly original, like it's genuinely creative, your initial impression should be one of like discomfort. Because when you hear a song and immediately love it, you love it because of a certain element of familiarity, right? Like it's something about this is familiar to you, and that's why you love it so quickly. But truly original creative music that doesn't have like a very clear influence is so new that it should almost be uncomfortable. It should be a little like
always
right,
always.
like what am I listening?
Yeah.
Like what was that? I'm not sure how I feel about that. And then it grows on you and you eventually love it.
Yeah.
And his playing is kind of like that. Like I don't know if anybody would listen to his playing and immediately like fall in love with it. You might recognize how high level he is because of speed and a lot of the textures and things. But like it almost like it's like coffee or beer to a 12-year-old. Like you got to develop the taste for that. You shouldn't give beer to a 12-year-old, but like
coffee,
probably not. But it's like an acquired taste. Like I think his playing is very much in that category where like it's supposed to sound really odd at first because it's that high level, refined. Like you just have to get like a flavor for what he's doing. It's so specific.
It's maturity. It's
sure.
It's emotional and musical maturity that's expressed a lot in his playing, I think.
Yeah. He's a crazy player, man. He's so good. So yeah, if you guys don't know Mason Guidry, definitely check him out. He's one of the like slept on freaks of the drum industry, but very much in the category of Chris Paproda, Andy Prado, like some of these guys that are just like, once you see them, you're like, how did I not know this person existed until this moment? That's a Mason Guidry. He's that kind of guy for sure. So yeah, definitely check him out, man. Some absolutely sick videos, and I want to watch the clip where that audio came from. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I'll send you that. There was another clip that I found while looking for that clip. That was like a shed clip you showed me years and years ago of him just like playing at speeds where it doesn't make
it looks
sense.
like the video sped up. It'll make you think like, is that real? Like, and I remember in the first time I met him was at Flight Drummers Festival in 2013. He was there, and I remember Kelly came, and we had only been dating like a few months. This was 8-9 years ago, and she was just like, can everybody do that? Is that like normal? Like watching him play, and I'm like, no, that's not. Like it looks okay. It's a good example. It's like if you go to an NBA game and you see someone that can just jump and like their knees are like above your chin, right? Like it would hit you as sort of like unhuman. Like I've never seen anyone in person do anything like that. It's like, whoa, like it's like that. Like it strikes you as not possible when you see his like highest gear. It's like, did something happen? Like are my eyes broken? Like it's like that, man. Weird.
I was about to say, it's like watching a contortionist. You're like, I know that my body probably could do that with like intense training, but that
it looks
does
wrong.
Not,
yeah, like something's wrong, right? Like
Mason, something is wrong with you. All right, cool. That will do it for
awesome.
Player Puzzle. We have a real fun time with that segment a lot of the time. Brings up stories. Brings up whenever I win, it's awesome, but. Whenever Adam wins, it's depressing. Anyway, so that'll move us on into Accent or Ghost.
Accent or Ghost, all right.
A classic segment we do here on the podcast where we get Adam's view on many aspects of the drumming industry, and at the end we'll get an approval, which is an accent, or a disapproval, which is a ghost. So, what do you think about playing so hard your hands start to bleed?
Oh, man, I've done that. I've absolutely done that growing up. Almost like a rite of passage, I would say. That's my initial thought about it. Like, And I think when you're young, you get more sucked into that like hyper passionate playing where you're just like, let's go, and and you just smash way, way too hard. I think it would happen live more often than not, because live you get the adrenaline dump, you get a whole lot of, I don't know, just a lot of like energy that's a lot harder to manage. And so I definitely remember finishing shows with blood on the snare drum. I remember doing that a number of times. Not even necessarily like metal shows. I was never really in metal bands like that. Even pop, right? Just playing hard, like squeezing a little too tight. And I think in a way it's like, it's a rite of passage. Like as you become more musically mature, you tend to control a lot of those, I don't know, dopaminergic surges that happen where you just get so incredibly amped up on what you're playing. But I do look back like fondly on some of those like bloody snare drum moments, because it just meant that you were really into this. But I also think if that's a regular occurrence for you, there's an issue. There's an issue with like emotional control. Like, hey, if you're at work, like maybe we should not be playing to the point where we're bleeding. It could also be a technique problem. That's definitely possible. But I think for the most part, if this is something that happens to you at special events, like your big show that you've been looking forward to, dude, I think a little blood on the snare drum is okay, man. I mean, how many times do you think you get to swing a drumstick in your hand with that kind of friction against your skin without any damage whatsoever? Like if you're playing that intensely, that fast, that heavy for a certain amount of time, it's just going to happen. So it's probably a boundary you don't want to cross over and over and over and over throughout your whole career. But like sometimes you get a little blood on your snare drum. Like, that's okay.
I would think of it like you're so focused on actually playing the pieces that by the end of it you just go, oh, I'm bleeding.
That's normally what it is, right? Yeah.
You're like, oh, crap.
Yeah. It's pretty rare that you're like focused and calm and you're like, I think there's a little blood starting to happen. You're normally not even there when it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've been like working out in the yard and stuff and you just kind of get back inside and you're just like, ow. Oh,
yeah.
Duh. Okay,
Yeah.
I did that.
That definitely. Yeah, the adrenaline will cover up whatever pain you felt in the moment.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the worst kind of injury you can get drumming is the one where you catch like a knuckle and a hi-hat. Oh, dude, I have and I've done that mid-song on stage where like it wasn't that I was playing so intensely that like I got a blister. No, it wasn't that. I just like smashed my hand into something, or the rim of the snare drum, that sort of thing. And to be in that much pain and just feel the blood running down your arm, but not be able to stop playing because you're playing live, like that sucks. That sucks a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I'll give it the accent though, but I'll give it the accent like once a year. Like, don't make this right. It's like there's definitely a limit. If you're just like, bro, I bleed all the time. Like, you should probably relax, man. Like, it's not that dangerous of a thing to do.
There you go. There's an Instagram handle for you, the Bleeding Drummer.
The Bleeding Drummer.
If someone
should already be a drummer.
If someone makes an Instagram about you bleeding every time you play, I'll follow that.
What about like bloody drummer hands, where someone just posts pictures of like bloody drummer? That'd be a good themed page.
Can we start a thread? Can people just email me their bloody drummer hands and then we'll make a collage?
Yeah, send us your bloody hands. We'll feature them on here. New segment in the works.
Oh my god. All right, cool. Once a year accent. All right, what do you think about deleting the reso head on all your drums? Basically just not putting a head on the bottom side of your drum. It
does something, right? I'm not sure exactly what. I mean, there are miking techniques where people will do that and put a microphone inside the tom. Though I'm not particularly sure what it would do other than, just talk it out. It's called the resonant head because it helps the energy or the air within the drum resonate back and forth. And so you get rid of it. I would imagine it would shorten the tom sound a lot. I know I've seen a number of reggae bands where the drummer will not have that. Like they want the toms to be short and kind of choky. So it would be just a sound preference thing. But I think as a default, the answer would be no. That for most genres of music, for most people, for most situations, you're not going to want to do that. But it would just be dependent on like what is the sound that you're chasing. For me, I have never chased a drum sound that involved no reso heads, right?
Scoom.
Yeah, I think
super short.
Yeah, real short and kind of tubby, as I think what you would end up getting out of that. But maybe there's something when you mic it on the inside, there's a different. I mean, because really, that's a pretty sick place to put a microphone. The energy in the air would come straight at it, like it's inside the drum. But yeah, I'd have to do a lot of experimenting with that. But I think for people who are just, if you're not really nerdy about the sound that you're getting, like the recorded sound that you're getting, I don't think that's a wormhole you need to go down. I don't know that there's anything there. I mean, there's a reason that like 99+% of drum sets come with reso heads on them, because they sound better that way. So I would say for me, probably not worth the effort or the energy. I think that would be the case for most people. Like, leave the reso head on, I think.
I think from like a professional standpoint, if maybe you were a drum tech and you were on tour and the drummer's like, I prefer no reso heads, you'd be like, okay, well, I have less control over this. So whatever sound you want to get out of it is whatever I tune the top head to, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And now your audio engineer is going to have a problem because they have to mic somewhere different for your drum to be able to hear it. So
yeah, tuning. Well, tuning gets easy. That's one plus.
It's one
side.
less side you have to tune, but then it's still less control over the tone of the drum, right?
It would be less. Limited range of sounds. It's only going to sound like so many things when you don't have the two head relationship on the top and bottom.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I would guess it's genre dependent, and I say that just because at least 2 reggae bands I've seen had that. So like there must be something in the reggae drum sound that people are trying to get there.
Darren King does it.
Yeah, but he also plays like the intentionally cardboard box sounding kit, right? Like he duct tapes across the batter heads.
He's pretty good at making himself sound good. He's also just,
Yeah. And maybe that's what it is too. Maybe it could be like in old school funk where the drums just all sound like flat and dead and slappy, but it's also the right sound for that. Maybe it's that sort of thing, right? I don't know. I'd be lying if I said I'm gonna try it. I'm not gonna try it. I like my tom sounding like dialed and clean and studio-esque. So yeah, I would say maybe that's probably the way to look at it, is if you wanted them to be dead, like, but appropriately dead. So funk, maybe reggae. I don't know too much about that drumming style overall, but yeah, for me personally, that's gonna be a ghost. I'm not doing it, but. Yeah, it feels like taking the muffler off your car or something.
That's
like
why I put reso head delete. It made me think of cat delete.
I know.
Delete the catalytic converter on your car.
Yeah, I mean, just buy a good exhaust if you want it. Like, that's how I look at that. I have an exhaust on my truck. Yeah. It sounds great, but it didn't involve just like ripping stuff off, because then it's just, you get this raw.
You didn't straight pipe your truck?
It's got a full exhaust system. It's got a muffler delete, but it's just...
But you still have the catalytic converter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, still have that. And it sounds great. It sounds killer. It's also harder to do and more expensive to do it that way.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. Something about... I hate the idea of taking a $5,000 drum set and just taking the resos off, be like, check it out now. Like, well, it doesn't sound better.
I would imagine
different.
that the only people that are doing reso head deletes are... people not buying like $6,000 drum sets.
Probably.
Probably like, here's a $400 used Pearl export. Like, why don't I just make it sound different?
Yeah, that's not a bad way to do it. Yeah, it's not a bad way to do it.
Cheap.
Yeah.
Cheap. Take the cheap route.
We'll throw it in the experimental category, right? You got a rainy Saturday, you want to get some weird drum sounds. Maybe that'd be fun to do.
That's right. We'll change the name of the segment to Accent, Ghost, or Experimental.
Yeah, that's the third option. Try it out. Who knows?
Who knows? All right, but a ghost overall.
Overall, yeah.
All righty, cool. Well, that'll do it for Accent or Ghost.
Cool.
Pretty simple. So now move on to the newest segment in the podcast here, Swap, Study, Shed.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this piece of the podcast, I'll give Adam 3 drummers that he has to choose which one he would swap gigs with, take a lesson from, or hang out and shed with. First round, here I have heavy hitters like Chris Coleman, Casey Cooper, and Animal from the Muppets.
Oh, man. Interesting. Casey Cooper, Chris Coleman, and Animal from the Muppets. I think I'm gonna... this is such a hard one. Let's see. I think I have to do the lesson with Chris Coleman. I've met him many times, but never taken a lesson with him. I think he would just rip my little brain apart. So that would be fun. So we're going to do the lesson. We're going to study with Chris Coleman. And then do I want to swap? Well, see, here's the weird thing. Casey Cooper is a YouTuber. So like he's a YouTube drummer. So I kind of know what his days are like because they're really similar to mine more than likely. So, but he also has a sick studio. So that would be that would be really fun. But at the same time, like I like my studio. It's just his is far bigger with definitely some nicer stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's still like a drum YouTube studio. So I don't know that would be that different. I think I'm going to swap with Animal. What's a day like in the life of that little thing? What does he do?
You get to do all the movies. You get to do all the guest spots that he does for promo work.
He's basically a celebrity.
The commercials that he gets to get on. I believe...
commercials, yeah.
Who is it that's... I think it's the drummer for Newfound Glory. Just has like a animal on his kick drum just for everybody to see.
That's funny.
I may be wrong in saying it's Newfound Glory, but I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay.
I don't know. I think he did like a drum off with Dave Grohl one time for like
all right. So this little Muppet's doing some cool shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna swap with him.
I'm not gonna lie. He might be a DW artist. I swear to God.
Like what? Who owns Muppet? Is it Warner Brothers or something? Got like a DW deal?
Disney.
I think of course it's Disney. Yeah.
Disney, NBC, that like whole corporate arc of things. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, is Universal and NBC are the same?
No, Comcast and Universal are the same thing. NBC, Disney, Fox.
I'm not so sure about. Well, I don't know. We don't need to play that whole game.
Yeah, we're not playing corporate ties.
Yeah, but either way, I'm sure if if Animal the Muppet is a DW artist, it would be like DW got a contract with Disney or Universal. Yeah. That's really funny. So I'm swapping with that dude because it sounds like he's just like a celebrity, just out here doing movies and commercials and these high profile gigs. Yeah, I'm swapping with that guy, and then like me and Casey are hanging out.
Alrighty.
He's a good. Actually, I got a good picture of all of us from the wedding. Actually, I'll throw that up on the screen.
All us drummers at the wedding.
It was a lot of fun. Good number of drummers at the wedding. That was a blast, man.
Yeah, it was fun talking to him and Austin about a lot of drumming industry stuff. It was cool.
Yeah.
Shout out them. All right, next round. I got Joe Morello, Bernard Pretty Purdy, and Steve Jordan. Now, to remind you of a few things, Joe Morello was Max Weinberg's former teacher.
Okay.
So Max Weinberg plays for Bruce Springsteen in the E Street Band.
Okay.
Bernard Pretty Purdy, inventor, founder of the Purdy Shuffle. And then Steve Jordan, who plays for John Mayer.
I think I'm going to go... I think I'll do the Joe Morello. I'll take a lesson with him. Somebody that old.
I must remind you too, Joe Morello has since passed.
Yes.
But
we're you
can't take a lesson from him, but if you could, he was still alive.
Yeah. So he was Dave Brubeck, take 5.
Yep.
Yeah, I think somebody that I would just love to get into the mindset of somebody that had played that long ago in a totally different era, which didn't have any like rock influence. I mean, you're pre all of the major rock bands and projects, right? Like real purist old American jazz. So that would be really interesting. It says here he was, he's all up in the Northeast. So like Massachusetts and New Jersey, man, like back in the, 50? Well, he was born in 28. So he was probably gigging a lot in the 50s, 60s. That sounds fascinating. Yeah, I think I'd take a lesson with Joe Morello. That would be interesting. The Steve Jordan. With Steve Jordan, who was the other one?
Bernard Purdy.
Bernard Purdy. Oh, man. I think I just want to hang out. I want to shed with Bernard Purdy. He's just... that dude's just got a vibe on him.
Yeah.
Seems like he'd be a fun dude to grab lunch with, for sure. So I think I'm going to hang out with Steve Jordan. I'm sorry, with Bernard Purdy. He just seems really cool. And how do you turn down the gig with John Mayer? I think I'm swapping with Steve Jordan. Yeah. Fun gig, dude. That would be so fun. And not particularly intimidating. I mean, there's a high expectation of pocket. Like, you better have, like, really good feel, really good groove. But the technical difficulty of the parts is not very, very high. I mean, it's pop blues, basically, right? It's pretty straightforward. It would be a real test of your feel, that's for sure, but not like your technical ability so much. So I think that makes it not quite as intimidating. You just got to be in the right mindset, right? So, yeah, that's what I would do. I would swap with Steve Jordan. I would take a lesson with Joe Morello, and I want to hang out in shed with brother Bernard Purdy. What would you do with those three?
I would exactly the same.
The same?
Thing. Yep. Hang out with Bernie Purdy. Just strengthen that shuffle. Absolutely play with John Mayer. That would be. I mean, you could retire after that. You'd be like, I'm not doing anything else. Nothing will top that.
Well, and that would be one of the highest level gigs in the world. I mean, John Mayer is just unbelievably famous, like
unbelievably talented.
Yeah, super freak. Yeah. He always had that quote I loved with Berkeley, like, if you graduate, you fail. Like, if you make it to the end of this 4-year run of music school, and you graduate, it's like already too late. Like, you're not supposed to get the paper and then go to the music industry. Like, now I have my degree. Like, you're supposed to have figured out what you're doing long before you make it out the door. It was something along those lines, which is a really interesting way to look at it. But I'm pretty sure that was his path, right? I know he went to Berkeley, but
that's strange.
I think he was famous long before he got out of there.
Gain the framework and then you go, fuck you, and leave? Like, what, 3 years in, I guess, is his point? Like,
well, more so that, like, what's a better way to say it? Like, when you graduate and you have that piece of paper and then you go into the music industry, like, nobody tells you that piece of paper doesn't do anything.
Well, correct. Like, I mean, like every other college degree, it's not like it's a guarantee for you to get a job. You should have been working towards what you want prior to graduation.
Whole time. Yeah, the whole time, exactly. Well, I think it's in a lot of, I don't want to get too far into the college wormhole, but in a lot of fields, like, a bachelor's degree would be required, a master's degree would be required for you to even apply at a certain job. And in the music industry, it's like, not only is it not required, it's not even going to come up. It's weird for you to mention that you went to music school. Like, everybody's just kind of like, oh, okay, like, kind of weird you would say that. Like, nobody cares, you know. Audio world is like that too. Like, your ability to mix an album is one thing, and whether or not you went to school for it is like a totally different conversation that's never going to come up ever, right? So, yeah, but I like what you said. It's like, you should already have been working on the thing you wanted to do long before you graduated. Like, because graduation doesn't mean anything to the industry. It's never going to come up whether or not you finished, if you've got the paper, did you get a bachelor's or a master's? It never gets asked. So it's like the game, you have to start playing the game while in school, like year one, like you already started. Welcome to your career. You know?
I had in college, I had a portfolio class, which was, if you think about the difference between a resume and a portfolio, is a resume says you've done something, a portfolio proves you've done something. And we had a portfolio class, and a lot of the students in that class who were not working within the industry that they were trying to get into were lost, because my professor was just like, prove to me that you can do this job that you want so badly. And they're just like, I can't. And then he's like, well, you're not going to get that job. But what can you do to prove you can get that job? That's like, what can you do to prove you can get the gig playing for John Mayer? You can play a lot of other gigs with the same type of feel, with the same type of people, you know, and network into that as well. Right. So.
Well, work experience is always more valuable than classroom experience too, and that's not to devalue the classroom. You're talking to somebody that owns a school. You know, there's definitely times to go to a classroom, but yeah, there is no substitute for real world experience. That's for sure. Yeah, that was a good, man. That was a lot of fun.
Cool. All right. Well, that will do it for Swap Study Shed. Really like that segment. It's real funny. All right, so then now we'll just move on to Q&A, really.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, no sleepers this week, so right into questions.
And we should tell everybody, too, we're obviously mixing and matching different segments, trying stuff out. So if there's ever a segment where you're like, where is it this week? Don't worry, it'll be back. We're just swapping things around.
Just calm yourself. It'll be fine. All right, so this part of the podcast, we answer questions, obviously. Duh. These questions come from Instagram, YouTube, or the forums of OrlandoDrummer.com. Or you can send questions directly to me at Chris@OrlandoDrummer.com.
Yeah.
Okay. So, first question from @JohnnyHuck asks, do you ever doubt the path you took being a full-time online drum educator?
In the last couple years a little in some ways. Well, it just depends on how we're looking at it specifically. Like when lockdowns happened last year, no, I had never been happier in my entire life that I had gone down this road, because then you see all of the touring musicians, all of the people that taught locally, anybody that's in like the air quotes real music industry, or the live music industry is a better way to say that. Those people were envious of positions like mine, right? Like they wish they had gone online, and everybody who was full-time online was sort of like, yes, like I made a good decision somewhere along the line. But it definitely depends. You know, I one of my bigger concerns, and I've addressed this in some videos before, is that as a more serious content creator who focuses on educational content and not very much entertaining content, like I don't do drum covers, the closest thing I've ever done to a reaction video would be Sleeper Spotlight, but it's still relatively educational.
Every Instagram drummer ever.
Yeah, that video. Yeah, I don't like... Well, I shouldn't say I don't like. It is not my personality or my style to be like an entertainer. And there's definitely been a shift over the last couple of years. TikTok is a predominant source of that shift. But the shift has been towards far more entertaining content and away from more serious educational content. And so that worries me. That worries me a lot, that I picked a content style and a body of work in my career that is no longer quite as appealing as it was 10 years ago. That's definitely something that I'm somewhat concerned about, because I have no desire to switch and become an entertaining drummer all of a sudden, right? Like I'm not doing drum covers. I really don't care about doing that stuff very much. So that does worry me as like a larger philosophical career category. But as a whole, no, you know, I really don't ever think about or regret having gone online, as opposed to some of the other options that were on the table, like, you know, being a touring drummer or joining a band and doing albums. There's certainly elements of that would have been really cool, but I also got to touch all of those worlds. I've done albums before. I know what that process is like. I know what it feels like. I've done tours before. I know what the process is like. I know what it feels like. And I do feel like I was able to touch every one of those worlds to some degree before I actually went online. And of course, I know what it's like to get videos with 1 million+ views. I know what that feeling is like. I know what it's like to do 8-hour days alone in a black windowless box. You know, I know a lot. I've touched all of these little worlds, so it's not like I'm ignorant to what a touring career would have been, or a studio career would have been. But I'll tell you the one thing I love about being online, and it's honestly, it's like the freedom. It's the freedom that comes with it, because at any given point, at any given day, I can just decide whether or not I want to work. And it's part of being like a solo musician is sort of how that works. You know, as soon as you get into a team setting, whether it's with a band or a record label or any group of people where you're doing a bunch of stuff together, you have this obligation to that team. If you join a band and go on a tour, you don't really pick when your off days are. You're told when you have to be at work and when you don't. And you know, I really love having the freedom of working from home and deciding when and how much and how often I want to work. Because if I want to pull an all-nighter in the studio, I get to do that whenever I feel like it. And if I don't, and I wake up and I'm just not feeling creative one day, I don't have to be creative. So for me, that freedom is so valuable that I feel very comfortable with the path that I chose of being full-time online. With all that said, I wish I could have the best of both worlds. I wish that I could take the tour when I wanted to and take the album whenever I wanted to. Logistically, that's not always how life works. It's a lot easier said than done. But yeah, I think overall, to answer your question, I'm happy with being online for sure. And we mentioned this in a very early episode on this podcast. For me, being deeply introverted is what makes that easy. I think there are a lot of drummers who think they would want to be full-time online content creators, but you would actually hate it. You would actually hate it because the self-discipline required to work 40 hours a week alone by yourself in a room with no social interaction, you know, high level of self-discipline required, that's for sure. And also some people that makes them miserable. Some people it's just like way too isolated. Like we talked about this with lockdowns. Some people were like deeply bothered by that.
I know I was.
A lot of people were.
Yeah. I mean, I came from 5 years of social interaction was the only way that I made money. Like I had to be around a lot of people in order for all of my jobs that I've ever worked.
Yeah.
And so lockdowns, it was like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Right? Hard lesson, right? But I don't know. I think if anybody's thinking about taking like their career online full time, maybe consider you're going to be alone for a lot of it.
A shocking amount, yeah. And just to clarify, the difference between an introverted person and an extroverted person is not like your capacity to be around people, because anybody with a small amount of social skills, like you could pass for either one. Mm-hmm. It's more so, how does social interaction make you feel? So some people, when they hang out with other people, it's draining, right? Where it's like they need to go be alone and sort of recharge from the social interaction. And other people, the social interaction charges them up. And so if you're an extroverted person, being around people gives you more energy. And if you're introverted, it sort of sucks your energy away. So at the end of a long social day, you just need to be alone and kind of reset. And that's the category that I fall in. So a high energy day for me is one where I'm alone, right? Because I don't ever get drained by the social interaction that happens. Not that I don't want friends or like social interaction, but it takes energy from me in a way. So yeah, for me, being hyper productive is always being alone. And I think that has a ton to do with whether or not people can or even should desire to have like a solo online musician career. I think it's a huge differentiating factor, where I think some people would just be miserable with this job. So I think if you know yourself well, you could make that decision if it's something you would actually want to pursue.
So, I mean, just to answer the question with a yes or a no, do you ever doubt the path you took?
No. As a whole, no. Some thoughts buried in there about it, but as a whole, no, I don't.
All righty. Cool. Well, thank you, Johnny. And I have another question from another Johnny. Johnny P asks, what do you think of the new iMac for an up-and-coming music producer or video editor?
I have not done the appropriate research. Let's pull this bad girl up. The new iMac. So I'm on my third iMac. I have a laptop as well, but I'm on my third iMac now, and I have spent a lot of money on iMacs, man. Let's see. Let's pull this thing up. Okay, so this is the 24-inch, which is interesting because iMacs were made for a very long time in 21 and 27. The 21-inch I wouldn't recommend only because it's like, if you're doing any video editing at all, it's pretty small. It's bigger than a laptop, but you'll wish you got the 27. 27 is fantastic size. I love that for video editing. I do all my video editing on a 27-inch iMac. And so this is 24, interesting size. And so there's 3 price tiers. We've got $12.99 for the base model, $14.99 for the mid, and $16.99 for the upper end. So one big differentiating factor between all 3 of these, well, all iMac tiers in general, is going to be your total storage, like your hard drive storage. Mm-hmm. I am curious, though, what kind of hard drives do they put in these? Are they solid state yet? Are they fusion? Or are they old school spinners? Let's select the highest end. We'll start with
solid state, but let's do that. Currently recording on my screen right now. Customize your blue 24-inch iMac with Apple M1 chip. I'm sure for you the color doesn't matter. For some people the color might matter.
But they have a lot of colors of these. How weird is that?
Yeah, well, I think Apple does this every so often where, like, I don't know, every 5 or 6 years they go, why don't we offer the new one in rainbow? And you're just like, all right, well, good, thanks for that. Maybe you could have like designed some of the more techie parts of it. But let's see, 8 gigabyte unified memory, 512 gigabytes, solid state storage.
Wow, that's really impressive. It comes with solid state regular. Yeah. For those that don't know, the difference between a solid state drive and a traditional hard drive is transfer speed, that you can move files around very, very, very quickly. Very important for video editing for sure. Yeah. So that's really cool. Now, do they max out there?
No, I think you can get up to 2 terabytes.
Up to 2 terabytes.
So we can do that. I'm going to customize this Mac here.
Now, let's stop before we get to that. So we're on the customize page for the... did you select the highest end one?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go down this list here. Memory, 8 gigabytes of... Why are they calling it unified memory? That's RAM.
It is RAM.
It's RAM.
Yeah.
Okay, well... 8 gigs of RAM is not fantastic. So I do have one question about this that I'm not really sure. Maybe we could look it up. Can you install your own RAM?
I want to say no, because
Not on
most
these?
Apple devices...
Well, all iMacs you can, but I don't. But they may have changed it for this
Well,
one.
given how thin this is,
Maybe not.
probably not. I mean, they've done this with MacBooks in the past where they're just like, no, you can't take it apart, can't do anything with it. We've made it so thin, you shouldn't be able to open it kind of thing, which I do understand to a degree, but then it's why most... people who work off a computer for a living will just say, nah, I just want to go to a PC and do whatever I can, depending on what that PC can do that a Mac can't.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man, because I don't love that you can max this out at 16 gigs of RAM. That's not a lot. It's not a lot at all. The one I got, I think I bought it with 16 and I put another 40 something in it. So I'm running like 50 or 60.
Woo!
So... And here's the thing, man. It depends on the type of video editing that you're doing. Audio, you're going to be okay. You're not going to wreck your computer with 8 gigs of RAM is okay if you're just running like audio recording. But as soon as you get into video editing and you're bouncing between those programs, like my computer, I think it has 64 gigs of RAM, and I can wreck it. I can still wreck it, right? So I don't love the RAM limitation on this. That's 16 gigs of RAM is maxed out. That's not great. The 2 terabytes of solid state storage is solid. That is so worth your money for sure. The other option, of course, would be to get an external SSD if you wanted to do that. And you can get, I want to say, a 4 gig external SSD for like $600. So if you wanted to save money ordering this, you could get the base model 512 gigabytes of solid state storage. You could definitely do that. And then just buy an external SSD down the road, because the transfer speeds are so fast that you can edit off of that drive. Because 512 gigabytes is not that big if you're doing video. If you're doing like multiple angles of 1080 and up, that's not that big. So you're gonna want more down the road, but you could survive if you got the 1 terabyte even. Yeah, the 1 terabyte seems worth it because it's triple that to go to 2 terabytes.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the sweet spot. I'll pick that one. 1 terabyte SSD.
All right. I put 2 just so we can max it out.
Okay. Maxing out. Why not?
Blue mouse or trackpad. If you already have them, you don't need more.
You don't need the trackpad. I don't recommend, man. Some people get good. I have one and I just can't. I never got used to it. But the Magic Mouse you do want, because the left and right swiping, huge for video editing and audio as well. Oh, and then pre-installed software. Well, that's sort of a personal thing if you need it or not. And we're at $2,500. I'll tell you, my only gripe with it is the RAM. If you can upgrade the RAM yourself, which if you can...
So there's, if you click on how much memory is right for you, at the bottom it has a note that says iMac memory is not user accessible. If you think you'll need additional memory, it's important to upgrade at the time of purchase.
Savages. They got rid of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would have to get the 16 for sure. Man, you're at $2,500. To be honest, it's still a good deal. The RAM is frustrating. It's really frustrating. And if you said, I'm going to buy the external solid state drive down the road, this is only $1,900. Man. And the computer functions exactly the same. You just run out of space a lot quicker. Got to be a lot smarter about managing your files and things with a smaller drive.
Yeah.
But, dude, that seems like a fantastic deal. The only thing I don't know are the benchmark tests on the new chip, on the M1 chip.
So far, they seem to be pretty in line with the Intel i5. Processor,
okay.
But i7's still kind of like blowing it out of the water. But if I'm not too keen on those benchmark results, so I'm sure that there's like what's a good YouTube channel? Linus Tech Tips is a good one.
Yeah,
he's
he's a
probably
great
already
one.
run a benchmark test on that.
Yeah.
So go check that out if you're interested. But
And there's another interesting thing that has happened. I wish I knew more about this, but like you have your CPU and your GPU, and the GPU is for processing graphics. So it's like 2 cards that can handle the workload. And there are software updates in Final Cut, for example, where it redistributes how much of the data processing goes to the CPU and how much goes to the GPU. So like if it used to be 80-20, 80% of the work goes to your processor, which is your actual chip, and then the other 20% of the work goes to the GPU, it's it can be updated where it's like 60-40. So from my understanding, GPU is more important than it used to be because a larger percentage, like a different ratio of workload goes to the GPU. It didn't used to be like that. So yeah, I don't know. I think this is overall a really good deal, man. I mean, this is probably a solid 5-year computer for a full-time content creator.
Yeah, well, and at the top end too, $3,000.
$3,000 if you max everything?
Yeah, if you max everything, Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro.
Oh, if you get those two as well. Yeah.
I mean, starting from the get-go to have new licenses for this new computer.
Which you need, yeah. Yeah, that's a sick computer, man. That's really cool.
Awesome.
I say go for it. If you don't have a real powerful machine that operates at like the core of your studio, this could certainly be that. The only thing I would say is compare this to getting a fully customized iMac. Because you can build just a regular iMac without this M1 chip in a 21 or 27-inch configuration. You can build it from scratch and see if you can get within a few $100 of this price range and outspec it. You might be able to do that. And it's dependent on your needs too. If you're just doing audio, this is more than enough. If you were doing exclusively video in really long format, this might not be the right computer for you. You might want to go a custom iMac and get something a little more dialed. But I like it overall. It seems like right in a solid range that a lot of people would find useful.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Cool.
Well, that'll do it for Q&A.
All right.
Again, if you have questions for the podcast, please, you can comment down below on YouTube. You can hit up Adam on InstaChops on Instagram, ask him a question. You can send questions directly to me at You can shoot questions directly to me at chris@orlandodrummer.com. Or on the forums and members area of orlandodrummer.com.
Yeah.
So, cool. Hit me up.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. I have any closing thoughts for the podcast today?
Sure. So, yeah, this week I'm building a shed. I already have a shed, need another shed, so I'm building a shed. Long story. Anyway, getting started on this shed, and I was going to put it in one spot of the yard. And then my wife Kelly was like, "Well, what if we put it over here?" I'm like, "Well, if we put the shed over here, then the other shed's got to go over there." I'm like, "All right, well, we'll move that." And then well, where do the chicken coops go? Like, oh well, we got 2 chicken coops. Well, that one could go here. And then where does the goat house go? Oh, we can move that over there. And so we're playing this like 10,000-pound shuffle in the backyard of moving these like massive structures all around the yard. And that's why I said at the beginning, I'm just beat up. I'm just so beat up from like, you ever trying to move a shed by yourself? It's really hard. So yeah, it's been one of those last few days, just absolutely physically brutal in the Florida summer heat. But yeah, just a good reminder that there's certain things like this that happen in life, in drumming and artistry and being a musician, where you can take on a little too much at once and you just need to slow down. So this is that kind of week for me, where it's like the universe itself was just like, hey dude, sit down for a second. Like I pushed too hard. I got myself all sorts of beat up, and now I'm like walking with a limp because just every inch of my entire body hurts. So you can do that to yourself physically. I think we've all been there. If you ever moved like your whole house, what that feeling is like, yeah, you just beat up your whole being, right? But you can also do this emotionally. You can do it mentally. There's a lot of ways to push yourself too hard until you just get beat up. And so as I'm sitting here, having kicked my own ass for a couple days in a row, I feel like that's an appropriate reminder for everybody at home, is that if you get in that intense work mode and you're being productive and you're getting stuff done, and know that there is always that limit where you can push yourself a little too far. Now, not everybody needs this reminder. There are some people who need the opposite reminder, where it's like, hey bro, you need to get to work. You haven't been working hard enough at all.
You need to get shit done today.
Exactly. But if you're one of those people who has a tendency to push a little bit too hard, hey, take this as your friendly reminder to slow down, maybe throw on some Netflix, make a coffee, and have one of those days every once in a while, because I think I need one of those here pretty soon, or I might lose some limbs. I'm getting busted up, dude. Cool. Well, that's all I got for you in episode 22. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Oh, yeah. We will catch you guys next week.
Cool.
Bye.